Hello and welcome to Boozy Book Reports, a simple podcast where we revisit childhood classics whilst drinking copious amounts of alcohol. We're your hosts, Beth
and Sam.
And this month we're reporting on Siddhartha, written by Hermann Hesse, first published in 1922. I was going to say 92 and I was like, that is wrong.
Nope, that's a different time.
Different era for sure. We have a little something special happening tonight though.
Yeah.
This episode we have a little special guest, and it might be our favorite guest of all time.
He's definitely
yours.
At least my second favorite person in the world.
Oh, thanks, Sam.
You're number one.
It's Sam's husband, Kevin, who's been mentioned on the podcast numerous times.
Yes.
Hi. Hello.
Are you so excited to be hanging out with us?
The most excited.
Good to see you. Normally, when Kevin hangs out with the podcast, I think this was mentioned during our Little Miss episode, Kevin's usually dragging a kind of buzzed me out of the apartment.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
Yeah. His face is very like, it is a school night. Yeah. We all have work tomorrow. Let's make this happen.
No, we cannot get a Little Caesars hot and ready. You need to go home.
The other day, I was like, oh man, maybe we could get Kevin to bring us Taco Bell. I'm like, oh, he's going to be on the episode.
Kevin, would you bring us Taco Bell?
But after, maybe.
You now, one thing, I don't know if you know this, but Kevin and I have been together 16 years.
Oh my gosh.
I know, we're disgusting. Since I was 18 and you were 19.
Oh, older man.
Yeah, what a
months.
cradle robber.
5 months.
For 16 years, Kevin has received a Taco Bell gift card from my brother every year.
Oh, that's amazing.
For Christmas.
That's a great gift.
I know.
Like, you can't go wrong with that.
No, it's been 16 years of Kevin gets a bottle of Taco Bell hot sauce and a gift card. So I know that he has a gift card in his pocket.
Oh, and he's treating? Ooh, okay.
Well, technically Keith, my brother, is treating, but...
Okay, well, yeah.
Merry Christmas to all.
Okay, so before we get into the details of this very interesting book, we're gonna be drinking some stuff.
Yes.
Sam has made us a delicious cocktail and poured us a couple beverages.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with the sort of free-form beverages. Actually, Kevin's going to explain those.
Yes, indeed I am. So we have 2 different flavors of sake, or 2 different styles of sake. The first is Jinjo, which is the different types of sake are based upon how much they polish the rice. And then that changes the kind of properties of the alcohol that you...
Because if it's real cheap and you just want to get it done, you're not going to polish that rice.
Whereas,
so the more polished it is, the nicer it is considered.
Okay, true confession, never had sake in my life.
Really?
Never. Oh. And I have no idea even what it is. So this is very exciting.
Wine. So they talk about rice wine in the book. He talks, when he's a samana, he talks about, I could just go and drink rice wine and I'd achieve all the same stuff that I've done here. So yeah, it's a wine made out of rice.
Mm-hmm. And you can polish it, I guess.
Yes. So we actually went, Kevin and I went to Japan this year and we went to a sake brewery and they showed where they polished the wine or the rice. There was a very sketchy ladder, just roped to something. And I was like, my little national lab heart was like, oh, that's a trade. That's a lessons learned. That's a training.
That's a ladder training.
That's a ladder training. But extra safety. But yeah, we went and saw it, and they where they make the sort of the starter, and they have the lees, the big after they press all the stuff out, they get these sheets of the leftovers that actually they turn into crackers and you can eat. They're
oh my
good.
gosh, this is so fascinating.
Yeah, so we're gonna try some.
Okay.
So the first kind Kevin was saying was
Jinjo. And then we also have the second kind, which is Daijinjo, which is it translates to big Jinjo, which is the fancier type of sake because it has been polished more.
Oh.
We do not have a variety of the Junmai just by itself, which is kind of the least amount of polishing.
Okay, so we're doing Jinjo.
But it more or less is a wine, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's got the same ABV approximately.
It's not going to get you turned like the plum wine.
Okay.
It might though. Who knows? Plum wine kind of messed us up.
Plum wine was, first of all, plum wine was amazing.
Yeah, it was delicious.
It got us real tipsy, real fast.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I think I need something in it though. I don't think I'm just a sipper of it. I want something in it.
There are also different styles of drinking sake. You can drink sake either warm or cold.
Oh,
Warm's nice.
Depending on, I'm not sure if it's based upon the tradition of who you're having it with or just personal preference. But
Like many things on this podcast, we don't actually know.
no.
And so we leave it to the listener, the
Yeah.
intrepid listener, to Google.
If you care, go to Wikipedia. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to YouTube.
But
Go
what
to
we've-
TikTok.
The most important thing to take is that Beth does not hate Jinjo sake.
Yeah. Okay. And this other one's called Daijinjo.
Daijinjo. So this is the supposed to be the more delicate flavored.
Oh, I like this one better.
this is typically a little bit more expensive on the whole because it requires more processing.
I think I'd like this one if it was a lot colder.
Oh, sorry. They
No,
probably
no, no.
sat out while we were making stuff.
No, but I think it's super refreshing. Like I think
Yeah.
if this was ice cold,
Yeah.
I think it'd be really good.
So they have really cool glasses. We actually, when we visited, we went to a like place where they make glassware, and you can get really cool sake glasses where they have a little spot to put the ice in to keep it cold, but it doesn't touch.
Oh, so it
Doesn't water down.
Oh, that's
Yeah, it was
nice.
really cool. So yeah, I guess we should be very clear. We're doing sake because they mentioned rice wine.
Yes.
We know that Japan and India are not the same place.
Yes.
And we're not, falling under the trap of like sort of,
that. Yeah.
Orientalism, I guess, where you sort of confuse it all.
Yeah.
This is one accessible way that people might enjoy rice wine.
Yeah. Okay. I like that second one.
Yeah.
I want it with, I feel like it's a little appley.
It's pretty, I think it's really refreshing.
It's really crisp. Like
Yeah.
I want it with a Granny Smith apple. I don't know why.
It would be actually quite nice, yeah.
Or like a Granny Smith apple soaked in it, which I'm guessing is not the traditional way, but it sounds delicious right now.
It recommended delicately flavored fish or
Ooh.
like sushi.
Oh, this would be fun. I've eaten sushi for years now.
Yeah.
Never had sake with my sushi.
It's
I
good.
feel like that needs to be changed this year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Our next drink is very festive looking.
So this drink we are calling Samsara to match a little bit with the journey of Siddhartha in the book. And so this one is kind of tiki drink. So it has passion fruit puree, mango puree, because he experiences passion with Kamala, and then Beth's already making a face. He sits under the mango tree, and then it's got rum, lime juice, and then I think that's about it. Oh, and amaretto for love.
Oh,
And a
jeez.
dash of club soda.
Oh,
to
and some
tie
club
it all
soda.
together.
Mhm.
Yeah, little buzz.
Yeah. Me likey.
It's a tiki drink.
You can't taste any alcohol, really.
It's a tiki drink.
It's great.
Just love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I think that's a rare one that you've liked.
It's few and far between, Sam, but
Mm.
I have a discerning palate.
Yeah, somehow you like tiki drinks and penicillins. You like scotch and tiki drinks. So discerning.
Yes.
I can't figure it out.
Well, but now she gets to explore sake, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a whole
and
world. of
Daijinjo
new-
sake.
Yeah, so there we go. There's 3 on my list. 4 with Prosecco. I'm moving up in the world. Just call me a alcohol connoisseur. We're going to read before we get into all this, if you've never read this book before, Sam's going to read the back of the book just to give you a little parlay into what we just, what this is.
Beth's not stoked about this.
I don't know what's going on. Okay, I liked it better than it's coming off, but I had strong feels.
Well, so I will preface this with the thing that basically my high school English teacher told us when we read this, which is this is not a story of Buddhism. This is Hermann Hesse's interpretation of
Thank you.
Buddhism.
Mhm.
And so this isn't any this is an interpretation of a story by a like German Swiss man.
Yeah.
So maybe just
Who
preface
won
it
a
with-
Nobel Prize?
who won a Nobel Prize
Mhm. But still.
awarded by other Europeans.
Yeah.
But
Not specifically for this book.
no, it's
No.
for his entire. When
Yeah,
you do the
it's-
Nobel
it's
Prize
body,
in literature,
the
it's
body
your
work.
body
Mhm.
work. But yeah, this is. I think we should be clear that this is not necessarily like a treatise on Buddhism.
Mhm.
And Mrs. My
and that wasn't written by someone in the culture.
no.
Yeah.
So shout out to Miss Care. She said the same thing when we started reading this book,
Mhm.
and basically said, I'm not converting you. So like chill. Okay. So the back of the book is, in the novel, Siddhartha, a young man, leaves his family for a contemplative life. Then, restless, discards it for one of the flesh. He conceives a son, but bored and sickened by lust and greed, moves on again. Near despair, Siddhartha comes to a river where he hears a unique sound. This sound signals the true beginning of his life, the beginning of suffering, rejection, peace, and finally, wisdom.
Mm-hmm. It was a journey. It was a journey. I was surprised. So first of all, at the back of this book, very back, there's a little advertisement for a movie, a remake of this, or a remake of this book.
I don't have that in mind.
Oh, I have it in mine. But the movie was made in 1972. But in this book, it's like, oh, it comes out in 2002 on DVD and whatever.
Blu-ray.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is new. And then I like couldn't find it. And I was like, oh, it's from 1972. And then it was very much from 1972.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I watched a few clips of it and I'm like, I can't get it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah, I can't imagine something made by a major studio really hit all the high points.
Well, and it was kind of scandalous because like, I guess in India at the time, like they wouldn't even show people kissing and there's like a nudity scene in it.
Oh,
so
yeah. That's why in the Bollywood films, a lot of times instead of like a sex scene, they'll have like a long song and dance where they sort of just like rub kind of towards each other and like cuddle.
Yeah, that's great. Honestly, I need to see your hoo-ha on the screen. I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a song.
Yeah, I'm good. Anyway, I was kind of surprised. I looked on Wikipedia for a second for some tidbits, and I thought,
did you get the tidbits?
I thought it was interesting. There was a bunch of like, it's been referenced in a lot of pop culture stuff. Most recently, The Bear, which I don't know if you've watched that. It's like this. I think you would love it. It's like this. It's like kind of. It's about this down on his luck chef. I've only watched 2 episodes, so don't come at me.
Oh, is this the one with Liam Gallagher from Shameless?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's supposed to be fantastic, but it was. I was watching it. It was so intense and good. I was like, I need to watch this, not watch this while I'm on the TikTok. So. It's in my queue. But anyway, he mentioned it. It was mentioned in Veronica Mars.
My high school love, honestly, Veronica Mars.
Mm-hmm. Parks and Rec mentions it, or somebody's reading it. I know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that it has still has cultural reference to today.
Well, did you read it in high school, Beth?
Guys, I just want to let you know I was not in AP classes like y'all.
Okay? I read it freshman year.
I wasn't in EE classes like that. Okay. None of them.
Did you read it, Kev?
Yeah, I read it in high school.
No.
What year did you read it?
Probably sophomore year, I think.
Okay.
But like before AP classes. It wasn't.
I just have a feeling that you still were in smart people classes. I only remember reading like Of Mice of Men, which I have on the list this year for us to read. Okay. You saw the list.
I know.
She
excited
clearly wasn't
about
paying
we
attention.
need to release the list.
It's up as of right now. It will be up on our TikTok, and you can see the whole list. I made a fun video of all of the books for the full year, so you can read ahead if you want to. It will also be on our website and Instagram, and I'll put it on X,
all the socials
and Threads
on X
and Facebook
you
for
mean
our
the site formerly known as Twitter.
Yes.
Excellent.
Now it's known as a symbol.
Yes, I'll put it on Twitch. I'll put it everywhere.
Oh,
okay?
heck yeah.
Anyway, but I didn't read a lot. I can't remember a lot of what I read. I The Glass Menagerie, which I put on the list this year too. Huckleberry Finn.
Oh, I read that. Yeah,
I
read that in, I think, middle school.
Yeah.
We read that in high school.
We read it in high school, and there was a boy that was very excited to get to use the N-word in class. It was super fun for me. I was the only Black person. Yeah. Anyway, on a happier note, Siddhartha.
I mean, this was like the sexiest book I had read.
Yeah. There's 2 parts in here I marked that I'm like, this is why Sam likes this book.
Apparently, I'm
this
a big
giant boob and this like
the part where he like finds the random lady and he kisses her,
and that one
loved it.
Apparently,
I'm into really smutty stuff, and I didn't even realize.
I was dying. I was like, oh, I can see where Sam because this is like the kind of stuff when you're especially if I can assume when you're raised in purity culture and all this stuff, you read something like this, you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh, 100%.
What is this? Yeah.
Did I tell you I went home and I was looking for my copy of this that I had read in school?
Oh.
I think I hadn't. I think that was, we still were just getting them from the school and we just put Post-it notes in them. But I did not find my copy of Siddhartha, but I did find my abstinence camp workbook.
Freaking love that.
I should have brought it
I wish you would have brought it. We could have gone through
I'll bring it back next time.
Yeah. I think that would be a fun little
Yeah.
adventure.
Oh, yeah.
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 Okay.
So, yeah, exactly. There was like a joke that we used to sort of laugh about everything. I did International Baccalaureate.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to joke that everything I learned about sex, I learned from my IB English class. Because it's just like, this book wasn't even that sexy compared to, I mean, we've done Like Water for Chocolate.
That one was, oof. That one's, people still like to re-listen to that. I can tell.
That's
It's a sexy, sexy story.
my sister-in-law Kate's favorite episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She loves
it's a good
it.
one.
Yeah.
I've
She
listened
also
to it
likes
several
the
times.
Smutty Fairy books with me. So
Mhm. Yeah, good times.
there we go.
Okay, let's get into this thing because there was a few times
Yeah.
that in this book, I was just like, it was just kind of the experience of growing up, very much so. Like to me, it just felt like, oh, you're going through your bro era. Oh, you're going through like your midlife crisis. I mean, it was just very like you're young and loud. You're,
Yeah, the Samanas, this is like young and deep.
yeah.
It's like
It's shower thoughts.
Yeah.
Like
too deep for me. I'm gonna, I'm gonna eschew the riches of the world and judge all of these people as I wipe my bangs to the side,
Gosh, yes. So the book starts off with this guy,
Yes.
Siddhartha.
He's
And
a Brahmin.
And he's fine.
He's
very
fine.
attractive. He's like the best of the best.
He's
all
very
I was
smart.
gonna say all American boy. No, this is in ancient India, so not all American.
No, he's not a quarterback.
But that's the equivalent.
Yes.
He would have been high school quarterback, Abercrombie model in
Prom
1990s, prom king.
Yeah. And also like somehow the best in all of his classes because
Yes.
he was like a big old nerd and all the like teachers thought he was so smart.
Yeah,
And his best friend Govinda was like
obsessed with him.
obsessed.
Like,
he was like
running after him all the
he's
time.
Not going to be one of those shitty priests. He's going to be a good priest. He's
Yeah.
my best friend. I love him.
Yeah. And he's like set up in his life. And then he's like, no, I want this.
He's unhappy.
He's not happy. And so he decides to go and take off. And I loved it because he was going to ask his dad about it. And he just stood.
Yeah,
And his dad's
patiently.
like, you can't go. And he's like, I will stand here until I die. And I was like, oh, okay.
I thought it was kind of funny. He was like not going to absolutely like, betray or, not listen to his father.
Yeah.
He just
I'll wait you out.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, I feel like that's very teenager.
Yeah.
Well, and he wins too, right?
He does
Yeah,
win.
he does win.
He causes his father mental distress. It's basically psychological torture until you give in.
Yeah. Did you ever do that?
No, no. Did you?
One time my mom told me to go to hell and I said, I'm already here.
Oh, gosh.
And she was
I was
furious.
like, did that go over well?
Nope. She put it on pieces of paper, printed it out, and posted it around the house so I could remember the shitty thing I said.
Oh, that's right.
I was a shit, but
I was perfect. Like I did nothing wrong. Honestly, like I never did anything. I never bucked up to authority.
Really?
No,
I don't believe that for a second.
Never. I'm terrified, even to this day, of authority. But like, I just wasn't. My parents let me do whatever I want, so it was just like I didn't have any need to like rebel. I just did what I wanted.
I refused to follow a rule in high school.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't allowed to have backpacks. This was sort of a post-Columbine era.
Oh, okay.
So we weren't allowed to have backpacks. We were supposed to like carry our stuff to our lockers. This is at the time that I was reading this book. And I thought that was a very stupid rule.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just refused to follow it.
Mm-hmm.
And then ended up having to go to the like dean's office. And yeah, after I had written like a scathing a opinion piece in the newspaper. And
you're
then,
Andrea from 90210. I'm just gonna say.
So yeah, well they got me and then my mom was like also volunteering at the school at the time, and so they just called my mom down from like the library, and I cried like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, that was a dumb rule.
It was so
And
stupid.
is not currently that did not last.
No, yeah, they had like some rule you could have stringies, but you couldn't have your backpack because it was supposed to be like because of guns and your like bag. But I was like, your back. But I was
That's not even how that works.
I know. I was like, you can put a gun in a stringy.
Oh my gosh. I was sitting in 7th grade. I looked over and this kid had a gun in his waistband. This was pre-Columbine. Did I say anything? Absolutely not. Just was like, oh, he got a gun and just kept on with the day.
I mean,
it can happen anywhere.
I feel like this was
a different era.
We were a post-Columbine existence all through high school, so that was all very different for us.
That happened when I was in like junior year or something, so it was just different. Anyway, so homeboy goes off, hangs out with this new crowd. Very different.
They're ascetics.
They're very different.
Do you have feelings about asceticism, Kevin?
It's a choice.
I asked this of the Catholic in the room, or at least the most historically Catholic.
Well, so I think there's a piece in there near the end of the book, like kind of the author perspective that's near the back of the book that talks about the fact that this is pseudo autobiographical from Hermann Hesse, because he went to the monastery and like was going to become a priest until he had a crisis of faith and then just bailed.
There was a point where I wrote Catholic ? Because it was just like the most guilt-ridden moment where I was like, oh, right here. I am a sinner and you are a sinner, but someday the sinner will be Brahma again. And I wrote Catholic ?
Wow. Okay.
That checks out. Good job.
Yeah. Nice.
Thanks.
This time for this guy is kind of, I don't know. This is the part of the book I was like, this whole book going to be like this. I'm not going to do this. Like, well, I even started with an audiobook and had it on like double speed. I was like, oh, this is real bad. I hope that this is not it.
I think this is the point where he goes through his like judgy teenager stage where he's like, the world sucks and I don't want to be part of it. And so he goes and lives in the forest with his friend.
But it was also very like, look how hardcore I am.
For sure. It's like very much like stunting, like.
Yeah, like doing it for
performative, doing it for the gram.
Okay, I was going to say it for the clout, but
sorry, I'm old. Doing it for the. I'm not a part of the TikToks.
Okay, I don't know if that is not TikTok, but anyway, he and his homeboy are like doing their thing, and then they hear that like this like what do they call him, the blunk one? No, blunk is not a word.
Well, the Daijinjo just hit.
What is it called? The intellectual one?
The enlightened one.
The enlightened one. Thank you.
Gautama, the Buddha.
The Buddha. And they're like, oh man, we got to go hear them talk.
Well, I think there's even a crisis that sort of predates that, right? Where he says like, we've sat here, we've thought, we've done all this stuff, and I could have done the same thing if I'd just been sitting around drinking rice wine. Like we're no better than where we've been.
Yeah.
And so they go, that's like part of what inspires them to go see. They've been hearing about the Buddha, and the lead Samana is like not about it. He thinks that the Buddha is a charlatan. He doesn't think that he's any good. And so when they go to ask permission, the head of their order, he's like, no, you can't go. And then he like uses Jedi mind tricks on him.
So rewinding just real quick, like during this time, they're like all about like just not eating, not doing, not anything.
Yeah.
No possessions, begging, all that stuff. Have you ever done any of the like fasting where you're like more than just like a meal?
No, I'll be honest. Catholic fasting is like super. I know that this is maybe a controversial statement here. It's so chill compared to like what I watch my friends go through during Ramadan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, you can have a small meal and 2 snacks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so you're like, okay. But I've done like, you know, some like Good Fridays where I was a little more, I took a flight on a Good Friday where I was like technically fasting. That was a mistake. I've never felt more rage in my life.
Oh, yeah. That's not a, What about Lent? Did you ever give stuff up for Lent?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But not the same.
It's not Ramadan
like you give up
levels.
chocolate or you know.
I don't know. I gave up social media once and I about died because one of my students was like, oh my gosh, they were posting all of this stuff, like saying how rich they were, and people were like roasting them. And I wanted to read about it so bad. So I had a kid like screenshotting everything and sending it to me because I'm like, I can't be on social media. And it was like the best thing ever because it was on like Rich Kid's Instagram and like it was a whole thing. Anyway, side note.
Yeah. You usually do, like where you give up something and you try to do something better, right? Even though we're not even that, like, even though we're not the best Catholics, I think we still do. We do observe Lent, and we still, like, I still give something up.
But this is a whole different level.
This is extra. This is like I couldn't do it. I know me.
No, but there are like Catholic orders that do like that are like aesthetics, not aesthetic.
The people,
the Catholic aesthetic.
That's different. That's what that Met Gala was about once.
Because there's that order that's really into
the
like,
Chalices.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that order called?
Where they're into like, self-mutilation.
Oh, is that the one from the
Da Vinci Code?
Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, but they're real. But they're
it's a real order. That's dramatized some, but
okay.
Yes.
It's a chalice, right?
Yeah, is the thing they wear that.
Oh, the thing that they tighten.
Yeah, they tighten.
Yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah, yeah, flogged himself.
Which that's not going to be my
hair.
If we had to pick like a philosophical school of thought, asceticism is not the one that I'm going to pick.
Okay.
Like I'm going to pick stoicism every day of the week.
Opus Dei.
Opus Dei. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan Brown. Educated.
I think we've talked about this a lot because, like, okay, this is kind of, I guess, a little more about our history but like Kevin and I used to like be part of a Catholic discussion group when we were in graduate school, and we talk a lot about like what is the value of cloistering, what is the value of those sorts of like.
What is cloistering?
Oh, like where you're like a nun behind, like you don't go out into public. You're a cloistered nun. So you stay behind, you don't see people outside really that often. And your goal is really to like sit and pray for the like world.
Oh,
and
that's nice.
So
post-COVID, it has a different flavor.
Yeah.
Right?
Like yeah.
But we used to get in this debate with a couple people from our discussion group of like, there's also orders that are out, like the Franciscans are out working with people. They're not cloistered, right? In any way. Like they're out working with the people and trying to like make sure people are fed and taking care of the sick and taking care of people with like illness. And then there's the people that stay behind. And I think there's a reason for those things, but we used to talk about this a lot. And I think both you and I are of the variety of like, we would rather be out with the people working.
Well, like the Jesuits are for education, right? Like
Dominicans
there are lots of
same thing.
Schools and universities.
I'm learning so much about Catholicism tonight. Didn't expect this.
All the charisms. Anyway, back to Hermann Hesse's Buddhism.
So the guys go on a little trek to now go see the Buddha.
Yeah.
And what's his name? The little sidekick is real
Govinda.
excited. Very excited. Very excited.
Siddhartha?
Sorry. I'm real warm right now. Just saying.
That's the wine.
Yeah.
You did it. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. So they go off and like talking to him. He's like, I'm going to talk to you. Let me ask you some questions if I may, blah, blah, blah.
To the illuminated one or the illustrious one.
Yeah. And I was just kind of like, okay, like, I don't know. I just thought he was a little bit like full of himself.
What, the Gautama
Siddhartha?
Or
no,
Siddhartha?
Siddhartha. A little bit. I don't know what it was. It was just it was off-putting to me. That's my memory.
So I think that's actually kind of the point. I think that he's like 18 at this point.
Yeah.
And he's
like, I got this.
Yeah. And
what are you going to teach me? Because I need to go experience.
Yeah. I have to like feel things. I have to know things.
Yeah.
I feel like it's his bro era.
Yeah. It's like, yes. He went through his whole like, I'm deep. I'm all these things. Look at me.
I'm going to play Wonderwall.
Everything. Yes. And now he's like, oh, I'm going to know it all. Like, I don't know. The switch was very like.
I feel like you knew this guy in college though. I did. I can actually tell you exactly his name.
Okay. I'll edit that out.
Where, Kevin knows this guy as well. He went through a deep phase where he was super deep and he was too deep to be friends with us. And then he went through a phase where maybe he didn't shower, which I think might have been depression. And then he went through a phase where he just slacklined a lot in the quad and tried to help women on the slack line. I feel like that this guy is every dude in college who changed their majors more than once.
But Siddhartha didn't really want to go see the Buddha in the first place, right? Like it was Govinda was the one who was driving that train, and Siddhartha was like, okay, fine, I'll tag along.
He said he was willing, he was open.
Because he was fed up with the samanas, but like he wasn't all aboard the Buddha train.
That's true. I think that's true.
Yeah. And then they part ways. And I thought this was really cool because Govinda was like, hey, I'm going to follow this dude. And I think he really thought that Siddhartha was like, me too, man. And he didn't. And I think it was very brave of him to like leave this friend that he was like, He was the sidekick for years, and now he was going out on his own journey, which is really hard.
But he was sort of going to be from one sidekick to another.
Listen, it's a baby step.
Okay.
He let go of his security blanket.
But you're right. You're right about that. I think he was absolutely a believer in Siddhartha. And then, he took that moment and said, no, they think this is actually the right way to go.
Yeah. And then Siddhartha's like, man, I don't need to meditate.
Yeah.
I don't need to do any of these quests. I don't do any of this.
I've learned everything I could learn. And therefore teachers are nothing.
Yeah. And I like that he's like, you know what I need to know now is how to pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm going through my pleasure phase.
Well, he has a moment where it's sort of, I was reminded there's a Mark Twain quote about don't let your schooling get in the way of your education. And he just has this moment where he's like, you know what? I've had teachers for years and I'm not any closer to happiness or nirvana. I've had, guides. I've had all these things. I've even met the Buddha. And I'm no closer. So, you know what? We're going to try something new. I'm going to live in the world for a little bit and see if that's the way to do it.
He literally says, I will learn from myself. The secret is Siddhartha.
Okay.
Great way to live.
So part of me was like, good for you, dude. Seek inside yourself. And then part of me was like, this is the same energy as a woman who says she does her own research while saying she doesn't believe in vaccines.
Yes. Or that the earth is flat.
Yeah.
Or that just by drinking a little bit of borax, life will be better.
A little colloidal silver for you.
You're good.
But he's formally trained, right, in the sense of spiritual questing and from several different venues, right? Of first he's a Brahmin, then he's an ascetic, then he's
Are you saying that this is Siddhartha's PhD?
I think Siddhartha, he gets to the point where he's like, you people aren't smarter than me. I'm gonna go do my own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. I'll give you that.
I like that doing his own thing started off with a dream that really just shook my world.
Was this the breast kissing?
This is when he falls asleep and he dreams of his good friend and he's embracing him and he turns into a giant boob and then he starts nursing on it. And I was just like, that's a lot to unpack.
Freaking loved it.
A lot to unpack.
Loved every moment of it.
Yeah.
Was this about the time of Freud?
Yes. So Hesse was really into psychoanalysis and Freud.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't make it better, but
no.
Historical context.
Yeah. But this is true. He was
and
absolutely super into Freud and psychoanalysis. So I think this is something you're going to see in other contemporary authors too.
I need to just read you the sentence that sealed the deal that I was like, Sam loved this. I wouldn't say that, but it was just he was like, it tasted of woman and man, of sun and forest, of animal and flower, of every fruit and every pleasure. It was intoxicating.
You never got drunk off that forest titty?
No. Nope. Unfortunately, I was, nope.
I guess that was just Boulder then.
It was just I think it was because the first part of this book was so okay, we're going on this spiritual journey, blah, blah. And then it was and giant breasts that was my friend.
Yeah.
Suckling now.
So I know that you're supposed to read this part. I know you're supposed to read the Samsara part and be like, oh, wow, he's really fallen into the traps of the world. And I was always like, Samsara sounds lit. So maybe on the spiritual journey, that's where I'm at, is Samsara. But
oh my gosh.
So I was like, that sounds 35,000. Let's do it.
Amazing.
Well, he spends the most time there, right?
Yeah.
He does spend a lot of time there.
If you think about
his
how
life,
the book
yeah.
is
well, so to get there though, this is the first time he meets the ferryman, right?
Yes. Varu.
Yes. I call him ferryman.
I was confusing that with my slutty fairy books I've been reading. Okay. So I just want to be very clear.
So if memory serves it, yeah, he goes across the ferry on the waters. He hits the town, and right before he gets here, he meets a young woman who is talked about very explicitly. Very explicitly.
I loved this scene because it was so ludicrous. He comes upon this woman. She's like, they talk for a couple seconds. Yeah. They flirt.
Her moist lips are gleaming attractively, and she has a young face. That's the descriptors.
Hey, when you've been in the forest for, the past 8 years
saying.
or whatever it is, I don't think there are very many female ascetics.
No, but it was okay.
Rough.
It was just
to be rough.
It was just like, sir, your writing style is making me annoyed. But anyway,
this is 1922.
Yeah.
He couldn't write,
I feel like this was a lot for 1922.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Is like this is as hot as he could get.
It's pretty hot. First of all, girlfriend, not like any other girl I've ever met or encountered in my life. Like she's just like into him in a way that is shocking.
You went to college.
I just can't.
Did you ever hit the dive bar on a Friday? I saw that shit.
He came out of the forest smelling and really dirty.
I
just
went
in
to
a
college
loincloth.
in Boulder.
Okay. I went to college in Chicago. So.
I feel like a smelly dude who just erupted from the forest is like half of CU Boulder's wet dream.
Yeah.
But, back me up on this, babe.
But like, they literally meet and then she's like, let me step on your foot and show you that I want to hump you.
It was
like it was a lot.
It was a suggestive. She was flirting.
Oh, okay. That's
she was
a lot of
expressing
flirt.
her.
That's a lot of flirt for a 10-second encounter.
I love that he just hits it and quits it. He doesn't even hit it. He just quits it. He's like, he bends down, kisses her boob, and then like walks off.
Yeah.
We always thought that was a real power move.
That happened to me once.
Somebody touched your foot and then bent down, kissed your boob, and walked away. Oh my God.
This actually happened. I'm having a flashback. I was sitting in a kitchen and I was sitting with some new friends. Like it was like a new friend group I was hanging out with right when I started college. And there was this guy who was into men and he was kind of just sitting next to me and he was looking at my boob and then all of a sudden he just started kissing it. And he's just like, I just wanted to see what it'd be like to nibble. And I was just like,
no, sir, you ask permission first.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this on so many levels. No. I literally just met you.
You say, ma'am, may I nibble your breast?
Yeah. In a kitchen in front of other people on the way to the club. So yeah. It was real. It was real. I was wearing my Pearl Jam shirt too. It kind of scarred that shirt for life. But anyway, yeah, I know what this girl feels. Okay.
But she
was into it. She was into it.
She touched his foot.
Yeah. She touched his foot. She's playing footsie.
Yeah, she was like,
oh my gosh.
With no table though.
No table.
Has just out in the open
in the woods. Oh. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he's like, no, I'm good, and pieces out.
Because he thinks of like Govinda midway.
He realizes that he's lacking, right? He doesn't know anything.
He's like, what do I do with this?
He's used to being number one, and I feel like he wanted to be an adequate lover, which is why.
Props to you, my friend. Like, he didn't just like try to wing it. He like really did. He was like, no, if I'm going to be good at this.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to
go. No. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to be good.
Yeah. I'm going to be great. I'm going to find the best pleasure house there is. Go to the top prostitute and just learn.
Beth, courtesan.
Oh, sorry.
It's the preferred nomenclature.
Okay. Sorry. Whatever. However you want to say it, modern day OnlyFans. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Cam girl. She doing her thing.
I don't care.
You girl, make that paper. Yeah, I don't care.
I don't care. I mean, I would too if I was young and fun. I would too if I just didn't have shame from being raised in 90s purity culture.
I was going to say, I don't think you have to be young and fun. There is a market for everybody.
There is. I will not be joining that free market. So thank you, everyone. So he goes to this lady and he's like, hey, can you teach me your ways, Kamala?
A beautiful lips like a fig.
Yes. And she's like, homie, you have nothing to offer me. You don't have fine clothes. You can't buy me anything. You stink. Like, get your life together and maybe we can talk. And she hooks him up. What?
I want to say this lady, absolute fucking queen.
Oh,
she was my favorite to the point where I named my first D&D character after her.
Really?
Freaking loved her.
Oh, yeah. She was a great character in this book. She's probably the only one I really was liked besides the ferryman.
The only thing I disliked about her is she spoiled her kid too much.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Otherwise, she's a freaking winner. She's a queen. She's like, oh yeah, you're hot. I'm hot. But mama don't give it up for free.
Yep.
But here's where you can get a job.
Yeah. She's like, I see the underlying talent in you. Yes. And he goes to this businessman.
This week he mopping floors. Next week it's the fries. That's what's happening here.
But Siddhartha's fallen upwards in like the biggest possible way,
my gosh.
right? This is plot armor for sure.
No. This is not just falling upward. This is trust fund baby living. Again, we went to college in Boulder. This is trust fund baby who now wants to live in the woods with the Rainbow family for a couple of weeks. He's a rich person. He always can fall back to going back.
Yes, he could always go home.
Because his dad always says that. His dad always says, if you get disillusioned, you can come back.
Yeah. But just having that safety net gives you like a sense of freedom that a lot of people don't get.
Siddhartha's a trust fund baby.
Yeah. He's a Nepo baby.
He is super lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he takes advantage of it and, it's probably smarter than everybody else. Yeah. Okay, fine. And
he is good at business. I mean, there's like a point where,
the businessman?
He's really good at people in the business too. Because the businessman, like, you don't understand the crops and the this and the that, but you get how to work with the people and build relationships and all that crap.
He demonstrates that, right? After he goes, Kamala sends him to Kamaswamy and says, okay, learn how to be a businessman. This guy's rich. He'll help you. And Kamaswamy sends him out, and there's like a point where the crops fail or something. He can't get the deal.
Yep.
But he stays with the people for a couple days and, learns what they like, makes friends, and that helps him later in business. Mm-hmm. I think it also starts to like sort of foreshadow what he's actually good at, which is observing and interacting with people. Because yes, you're right. He is he's quite smart. He would have been good at whatever he wanted to do. He is a Nepo baby. But he is good once he finally lets his guard down and once he stops being a samana and being like judgmental of other people for their like life and their choices. He is very good at like noticing what's going on, noticing the like simple joys in people. I think he has to give up like the judgment.
Yeah.
Because that's what he picks up. It takes a long time to give up the judgment, right?
It does.
He spends most of his time in Samsara judging basically everything.
Even though he's doing the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They talk about that a little bit about like once he gives up being a samana. Because like, I think we'll come back to this, but like the relationship between each state and the self. Mm-hmm. So like the samana was supposed to be denying the self. Samsara is indulging in the self. And then once he leaves, he like is able to sort of make sort of a middle path, right? Mm-hmm. Where he's like able to see the connection with the self and then the rest of the selves or the rest of the people in the world, or he sees the unity. Mm-hmm. And so he like the denial of self is what leads to that judgment. And then you're right. He talks about it a couple times. There's a couple mentions about he still has the heart of a samana. And so he's like still being he's being a dick really to other people and not just seeing the joy and the pleasure and the like simple things in life that actually bring people like love and joy. He misses the love for the judgment, which later he says is very important.
Yeah, that's an interesting like read on that. Because I appreciate that. Although my initial thought was more on terms of like the first part is spiritual, the second part is physical, and then the third is the fusion in terms of kind of like a little bit of yin and yang sort of
middle path.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I think spiritual, the self, I think it's like it is sort of the two sides.
You guys are really deep. I'm just like, so deep. This is his bro stage. This is his like, I'm just going to be a fuckboy. And then this is his like, midlife crisis. Like, I don't have a legacy. Now I'm just going to rest on the fact that like I've had a life and like people think I'm like, a guru.
I literally wrote like midlife crisis. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. He absolutely has a midlife crisis.
He does. And he literally, so he has this beautiful house. He has like all of these like people he's hooking up with. He has like his own pleasure garden with a mango tree he likes to go.
Living this hedonistic life.
And then one day he's just like over it officially.
I felt bad for Kamala.
Yeah.
She just pieces out. He just pieces out and he just leaves her.
Yeah. And literally she's like, and now I'm pregnant.
Yeah, I'm pregnant. Of course. I was like, I had a moment where I was
like, that's about right.
I wrote, damn, bad luck, Sid.
Yeah. Well, and he's all dressed to the nines in his like little business garb, and he like goes back into the forest and he lays down in like a dangerous place, which this place does not sound fun to live as far as like animal life because of like the snakes. Yeah. That are like poisonous, that are just like hanging out.
Not about it.
Not here for that. And the ferryman finds him and is like, or what? No, Govinda finds this guy and he's like, oh, homie's just like laying in a dangerous place, but he looks pretty happy sleeping. So I'm just going to watch over him.
Well, he's pretty suicidal up until this point, right? He's like ready to be done. He's ready
he's
to die.
He's going to go into the river.
And so he doesn't really care, right? If the snake gets him or whatever.
I know, it's just sad.
It was very sad. I felt bad for Kamala, who he just straight up left.
Yeah.
And now she's pregnant.
Yeah.
She's just a strong, independent woman. She'll handle, but...
Well, she did, yeah. It was funny, too, how they didn't recognize each other. As like, y'all grew up together.
Yeah.
And hit manhood together. And then, oh, is that you?
Well, I feel this way. Like, I see my friends as kids, and I'm like, oh, shit, that's the kid of the person I went to school with. Because I know what you look like.
Like, if you went to your 20-year high school reunion.
I did go to my 20-year high school reunion. I remembered everybody and everything.
You recognized them all?
I recognized almost every single person. There's only a couple, which I weren't even friends with. So it's like, I don't even know you.
Wow. You got like one more year, right? 2 more years till your 20 year? No, we got, oh God.
I also remembered the stories about them. I would look at them like, you want me to tell you what I remember about you? I remember you selling drugs, having a little packet in your sock. Remember that? 8th grade. And they'd be like, tell me more. I was like, yep.
I went to my 10 year and there were people who I was like, wow, you did a lot of drugs in high school, but you turned out really well. Like really cool.
That's what I realized. I was like, there's that book or that movie called Bookends, I think it's called, or Booksmart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about these 2 girls that are like super nerdy and they're just all into school and like, we got to get in the best colleges. And then like, we didn't party, we did all the right things. And now we're going to Stanford or Yale or whatever. And then all the kids that were partying and just having fun were like, well, I'm going to MIT. I just got picked up by Google, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what? And I was like, that's what I realized. I was like, all these people that were having so much fun in high school that I was a smidge judgy on because I was hanging out with some like super religious kids, like they were living it up. And I thought, your life. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, your life is awesome. And you had so much fun back in the day. I wish I would have had fun back in the day.
I don't know if that was true with the kids I went to high school with.
I don't think that's uniformly true.
I mean, I don't think I think one girl went to MIT and she worked damn hard for it.
Yeah.
And also ended up joining the military. Like, she was
just saying
badass.
It was reminiscent. Most of the kids that I am referring to did not actually go to college, is like the fancy ones. But I did respect the fact that we're both kind of in the same place, but you got to have a lot of fun in your like late teens and 20s.
I worked my ass off and then I still went to in-state. Like I went to CU Boulder, so.
You went for free.
That's true. So did you. Don't talk about it.
Yeah. Don't.
I barely skated by and I only applied to one college and I got in.
Because you're
and then I failed out.
Oh, shut up. You did not.
No, I just got 1 F. But then I went to another school and I just skated by and graduated and now I live here.
Yeah. And you're the most competent.
This is my life now.
My dad dropped out twice.
Nice. And he has a good life.
Yeah.
See?
My dad dropped out within his first semester.
And did fine.
My mom never went.
Yeah. It's just kind of a crapshoot. And I think you should spend a lot of time in that pleasure portion.
The most time.
According to this book. And then you just get to get redeemed. You know, you just live in the forest with the ferryman.
Oh, cool it, Constantine. He just hang on to the last minute and then repent.
Yeah. This is great.
He's like, hose to the last minute. Listen, the minute that
it's a real clever loophole.
Yeah.
Do you know this?
It's called fire insurance, man.
Oh boy.
Do you know this story, Beth?
Constantine, the movie?
No, Emperor Constantine.
Oh no, guys. I'm thinking Keanu Reeves. Okay.
you can tell.
No, go for it.
So Emperor Constantine, Roman Emperor, maybe 300s, I think.
Okay, keep going.
300s roughly. Was really not a big fan of Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
I think he actually persecuted some Catholics in his younger years
for quite a while.
Yeah.
Really not a big fan. But he decided and learned about a very interesting loophole.
Well, he saw a cross in the sky during a battle.
Okay, fine. But he was like, well, if I convert and get baptized, then all your sins are washed away. And so then, that's good, right? Then you can go to heaven.
Yeah.
And so what he did is he waited until he was on his deathbed and got baptized on his deathbed and then died, went to heaven, right?
He's a saint, yeah.
So I don't think he's a saint, but he exploited the loophole of, like I could do whatever and then get redeemed right at the last minute.
I love that. Good for him. Not the persecuting people, but just living your life. Live your life.
To be fair, when you first Google this, the Keanu Reeves movie comes up like 10 slots before.
Obviously.
Is he a saint? Yeah, I think he actually
is he really a saint? Oh, that's brutal.
His day is May 21st. What a bad bitch. Anyway, we're gonna get.
Well, speaking of bad bitches, Siddhartha is now living in, meets back up with Ferryman and has been invited to like be part of that life of just ferrying people and living in a hut. And
I liked the over the top, beat you over the head symbolism with the ferryman takes you on a journey across the river.
Yeah.
And he takes Siddhartha on a spiritual journey
well. He does. It's beautiful.
It's a symbol.
It's a symbol of a lot of things. So he's like living his life there. He's learning, he's listening to the river, learning stuff again.
The river laughs at him.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh, it does.
The river talks. Anthropomorphic river.
Well, he listens. So he laughs because Kamala comes. She's on like pilgrimage.
Yes, to go see the Buddha because the Buddha died.
Yes, and at this point she's given up her garden. She had even said that before, that she would like to give up her garden to the Buddha.
And she did. Like that order is living there. I don't know if it's called an order, but that's what I'm going with.
Yeah. The monks are living there. Mm-hmm. And then she comes and she has her son, Siddhartha's son also.
Siddhartha Jr.
Yeah, Sid Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And she's sitting by the river and a snake comes up and bites her.
Yep.
And she dies.
But before she dies, they bring her to the hut. Like they get to have a moment at least.
It's true.
And then he's introduced to his son, which is a little lackluster in all honesty. Just kind of like,
but
hey, kid.
Wouldn't that be in real life, right?
I don't know. If I just must have been like, I'm your daughter, I'd be like, what? How did that
happen? Well, when two people love each other very much.
Or one is a courtesan.
Or not at all. And it just is convenient.
That
and
egg donation went real wrong.
She touched your foot and you kissed her breast.
Yeah. And then she died. But it was nice because because Ferryman's wife died before and he very much loved her. And they like treated her, Kamala, just like they treated when his wife died. So it's like they made the fire pyre.
Pyre?
Yeah. And they honored her in a way that was very like great.
Yeah.
The son and him not so great.
Well, could you imagine? You're like 11 years old and then your mom, you're on a quest.
Freaking woods.
You don't even want to be on this pilgrimage. Your mom's like dragged you on this pilgrimage and then she dies because of a fucking snake.
Yep.
And then she's like, oh, also this is your dad.
And now you have to live in this hut in the woods. And it did not go well. It was real rough for this kid.
This kid's pissed. And so he ends up running away.
Yeah. Which I like that the ferryman was just kind of like, hey, this wasn't his path. Like that he was never meant for this. You're trying to make him into something that he was never meant to be.
Right.
And so the kid like stole all their money, stole their boat, took it across the river,
oars in the river,
broke the oars, and and of course ferryman's like bringing an axe with him because they had to build a little raft to go get the boat. And then what's his butt? Didn't he go back and look at the like city one last time? What had happened? I can't remember.
He did. He tried. He went to the city to go see if he could see him, Siddhartha. But he never sees him, and he has this moment where he's like sitting by the river, and the river like actually laughs at him. Mm-hmm. And then he has this moment where he's like, "I've become my father," basically. Where he's like, "Well, I also ran away from home in a sense, in a different way, but I basically did the same thing. I went out and I struck my own path. And this kid is smart and he's capable." And he actually probably has a fuck ton of money. Mm-hmm. So he'll be fine. Mm-hmm. He'll be okay. But it still hurts him. He's still sad.
Yeah. But then he just spends like the next like I don't know, million years hanging out with Fairyman, like learning about stuff. And the guy doesn't even like to talk. So they just sit in silence a lot, which my grandpa used to do that. Like he died and he was 105, but I would just go to his house and he would just sit and we'd just sit in silence. And I can barely do that. And so I would always be like, Grandpa. But it was just like, he could just sit all day and just stare out the window in silence. You'd be like, Grandpa, what you're thinking about? And he'd just look at you like, nothing.
Kev,
like,
what's
oh
that like? What's it like being
Siddhartha
like
was
this?
an aesthetic, right? Like that was his jam for
This is why I
years,
could never do
right?
the cloistered thing. We talked about this a lot. I would lose
a vow
my
of silence would obliterate you.
There was like I went on one women's retreat and there was like a quiet component of it, except in one room. Well, I nearly got in a fight in the room, but I left because this lady was very adamant about something that I thought was ludicrous. But yeah, I nearly died.
Yeah.
Well, not
you
actually
also would
died.
not do great.
I've always wanted to take a vow of silence. That's been my thing, like for years. I've always wanted to do like a weekend long just vow of silence.
Do you want to go?
Which, yeah,
there's a convent in Idaho.
You know, I love a convent. Well, I don't like Idaho though. No offense, Idahoans. There's some elements there that a little bit scare me.
We could be fine. It's barely into Idaho. We would go together.
It's not northern Idaho.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I would.
It's like near Lewiston.
Sometimes though, like because I'm kind of a hermit, right? Because I like to be like at work, I'm like blah 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 blah. But when I come home, I'm quiet, and so a lot of times I'll just sit for a day and be quiet.
What did you do today? You had no social interactions until we got here, and then you were like,
well, technically I did because I went to like 5 stores today and like looked at people and talked to people a little bit. It's not the same, but yeah, it bottles up for sure. But I think I could go 2 days without talking.
We could go. They have like a retreat, and it's this. There's a convent in Idaho. They're like socially justice oriented nuns.
I just would feel bad on the ride home. Because the second we left, Sam, I would be nonstop talking.
So would I.
It'd be great.
That's why we should go.
We should totally do it. It would be so fun. I mean, by fun, I mean like an experience, not like, woohoo, we're getting drunk.
I hope not. We're driving back to Idaho. I think I did actually. There were parts of that the forcing me into silence was like, sometimes I need that.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that will like fill up my days until I completely collapse, or I will like, and I still consider myself an extrovert, but occasionally I have those introverted moments where I need to like spend some time in silence. And so if I don't have something that will like slap me into that, then I won't do it.
I fill up my time with sounds and things, and like I'm an iPad kid. Like I always walk around my house with an iPad, and I'm always having a show on or TikTok or something.
Yeah.
Like I walk in my house. Sometimes I'll be in the car listening to the radio. I will put the headset in my ear so that I have something to listen to on the walk into my house. I'll immediately turn on TikToks before anything. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, why can't you just be in silence? I'm like, it is, as soon as it's silent, my brain goes off. Yeah. And if anything, it's terrifying because all of a sudden I'm singing my like musical theater songs that I'm just making up on the fly about my life and my cats and my life. And I'm just like, ma'am, you need to stop. And I'm like, that's just why we have the TikTok on. Anyway.
Whereas if I went to like the vow of silence, I would have a hard time coming out of that.
Did you ever go?
I did go 1 year. But like it's a similar thing that happens when I get real deep into coding is like I
deep
kind
blue
of
mode
a little bit, or like it's almost like a fugue, right? Where I'm just.
Do you even think?
Oh, I'm thinking very hard.
Okay.
But like I'm not communicating, right?
Okay.
Like it's all fully within my head.
Okay.
Not like
Are you having conversations with yourself?
Typically not.
Okay.
Typically it's like I have structured my thinking in such a way that I'm like very abstract. And so it's hard to be like concrete.
Are you thinking in like, what do you mean by abstract? Are you thinking in colors and like shapes?
Sometimes.
Like as emotions?
Well, so like with programming, a lot of times you're thinking about like how are you structuring the data in these like multidimensional objects. And so you need to be like moving and taking pieces of multidimensional objects and then like comparing or, rearranging them. And so
you guys are so smart.
No,
it's amazing.
I'm the opposite. Well, I'm not the opposite, but I will hyperfixate, but it's all conversations with myself.
But it's smart
like
conversations.
No, it's not. It's
You use the big words.
There's some real dumb stuff happening.
Yeah, I was like, you dumb motherfucker. You wrote the code so that it took an argument and then you put no arguments in, you dumbass. Like, I had that today. Literally, what the problem exists between the chair and the keyboard. That was the problem that I had today. I fixed my code.
Fascinating.
And I was the problem. Like Taylor Swift levels of like, hi, it's me. I'm the problem.
Oh, wow.
I was the bug.
Okay. Interesting. I love to see how other people like process life.
Well, I don't know. I think you give us too much credit.
Because the other thing is that like I'll listen to music all day, but I will not hear any of it.
Like you listen to lyric music? Like
lyric music, yeah. Like I'll listen to lyric music, and well, partly because I've listened to them so many times.
It has like a driving beat on it too. This is like something I can listen to like trance, but he'll listen to like metal
like
in the background.
120 beats per minute.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you're like that in Monsters Inc. when the mom is dropping the kids off at the school. And like, okay, my level is here. Okay, Monsters Inc. And she like, and like the kids jump into the van and she's listening to like the hardest metal ever. Yes. And she's just like,
That's Kevin.
Okay.
Well, because if I listen to the trance music, I start falling asleep.
Whereas I listen to like
that's
trance.
my problem with meditation, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Is that like, when I try and go the meditation route, I can't turn my brain off. And if I try and do some of the other stuff, I just fall asleep.
Mm-hmm. I went to this place called Jesus Abbey in South Korea. It's like this prayer retreat, and they were doing a lot of work with reconciliation between the two Koreas and stuff. And it was a whole thing. It was beautiful. It's up in the woods, and it was like this whole, again, spiritual retreat. And like they spend so much time in prayer, and I was just like, all I did was sleep the whole time I was there. And I forgot my charger, and I almost died because I had like a bus ride back. So I had to like really budget my like percentage of power. And I was just like, oh my gosh. But it was a really like beautiful, and it was interesting, but it made me realize I am not disciplined to do that. I'm not disciplined to like meditate like that and think about
it's
things.
a skill though, right? Like, and to
the
example of Siddhartha, right? Like he spent his entire childhood, like several years with the samanas, like cultivating that skill, and he loses it during the time in which he like, is frolicking in samsara, right? Yeah. He like loses that skill.
Yeah.
Which he like then cultivates and kind of brings back when he starts vibing with the river. But
and the ferryman.
Which, okay, bringing this home, full circle moment. Guess who shows up on his doorstep?
Govinda.
And why did he do that? I can't remember.
Oh,
because he heard about a man that was like enlightened and all this like wiseness in the forest.
I think he was also going to like Kamala's like pleasure garden, right? Because that's where the monks were hanging out for a while. Like the Buddha has died at this point,
but there was rumors of this guy in the forest that was amazing. Yeah, and it was Siddhartha, and like.
Because Govinda's always been looking for a teacher, right?
Yeah, and he hasn't reached it yet. He hasn't reached enlightenment,
which was Siddhartha's point before of why he was like, I'm not gonna stay here because I need to genuinely, authentically experience it for myself.
Yeah,
which he hits that point at the end, right? He says, knowledge can be passed on by a teacher, but wisdom cannot. Wisdom has to come from experience, and so Govinda has had experiences, but he hasn't had the same experiences. Mm-hmm. And so when Siddhartha tells him this, Govinda's like, that's some cockamamie bullshit. Mm-hmm. But then he takes a look at Siddhartha and he sees like, oh, he's at peace. He seems to like really, he's a holy man.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, I kind of don't understand really what he's saying, but this seems to be good for him, so perhaps.
Which, in a little rewind, I thought it was interesting because, like, once Siddhartha kind of figured it out, the ferryman just walked out. He's like,
I'm gonna go die in the forest now.
He ascended, right? Yeah. He like broke the cycle of rebirth. He reached nirvana.
Yeah, which was cool, but it was just like, oh, okay.
Well, and in some sense, like, if his goal was to teach Siddhartha, his goal was reached, right?
Yeah. So,
and like, you've probably met some of the people who have like presence, right?
Yeah.
Of some of those people who can, do different, they cultivate it differently, but the people who can like hold a room, or the people where you're like, oh, that person really, knows something, or is just peaceful or lovely or joyful.
Who would you identify as somebody in your life who you've felt that way about?
That's joyful?
Or no, that's just like that, like somebody who has a presence. I guess that presence, and not in the way that you might be like, oh, they really get it.
I don't know anybody. Oh no, that's not true. I'm sure I know somebody.
There were a couple people in grad school who were like, it was very clear that they were operating on a mental plane that was different, right? Their social skills were like off the charts, not in a great way.
Was this the guy who asked why we couldn't get into the freshman dorms?
Yeah.
I thought that guy was wild.
that person's mind worked in a totally different way than a lot of other people.
I mean, I feel like I've met people like that, especially at work, where your brain is just different. Like you see the world very differently. But I don't know if I look at them as somebody that's like enlightened in a spiritual way, or they're enlightened scientifically.
It doesn't have to be spiritual
or intellectually.
I think, like, I've never met Steve Jobs, but like, I think Steve Jobs is probably one of those people, but like, who, regardless of how you feel about him personally, like captivates and like captures people's imaginations.
I mean, I think there's a lot of like charismatic and interesting characters out in the world that are really good at commanding a room and seem to be like, they can just, it's cult leaders, like they can really draw. And it's one of those things that's like, oh man, I wish I had that, because it's one of my goals. So what are we rating this thing? Overall feelings about this book.
It's not for children. I'm sort of surprised we read it at the age we read it.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah.
Like it holds up to the kind of adult scrutiny in terms of the themes and topics and like treatment of it.
The titty kissing.
To each their own.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Because there are some books that like maybe don't hold up quite as well.
Angus Thongs.
That did not hold up.
No.
That was real rough.
East of Eden, which is one that we read,
we read that one
ago.
in grad school. It was one I loved as a high school student. And then I read it. I was like, oh, it's so deep. And then I read it and I was like, oh, he is just bludgeoning you over the head with the Cain and Abel story.
And I never read it in high school, so I didn't have the fun nostalgia. And I was like, this is not great.
It's not it.
Trash.
I wasn't a big Steinbeck fan anyway, but...
Yeah, I think this one, I would say it does hold up in a way that I didn't expect it to. I thought it was going to be, it's not as deep as I remember it, but I think some of that's just fresh eyes. But I do think it did a good job.
It's not that long either,
No.
it is. I think the depth to length ratio is pretty strong, right?
Yeah. I could just see this recirculating some, finance bro or TikTok bro or bro podcast, like getting into this and like pulling elements of it to be like, this is the way you strategize your life, like blah, blah, blah. So I just kept seeing, there was a lot of broiness to this for whatever reason in my head. But
something, Siddhartha, something, the blockchain is like a sentence that could be uttered.
Well, there's only 2 female characters in the book.
Yeah,
and
it does not
pass the Bechdel test.
At all. Well, there's technically 3 because there is a large breast.
Well, the mother
and
too.
The mother.
And
there
the mother.
You go.
Okay.
There's 4.
There's 4. There's mother. There's flirty lady by the river. There's the dream titty.
Yeah.
There's
Kamala. And there's Fairy's wife. I mean, she's.
Are we including the dream titty as a person, as a female woman?
That's the dregs. We were pulling those dregs out.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was, and I'm glad I read it. It's not something I would probably revisit. I would give it like, I don't know, 2 forest titties. Like, okay, that was interesting.
Yeah.
All right, then I'm giving it 4 Vishnu arms.
Oh,
for the cycle of rebirth.
Wow,
for the cycle of rebirth.
Okay, wow. You better bring it, Sam.
Shit, I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 released songbirds.
Oh yes, that was a beautiful moment.
It was a little sad. She was like, my boyfriend left. Now I'm just gonna let my bird fly free.
Well,
but he didn't die like in the dream.
Yeah.
So
it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
So I give it 3 out of 5. I it was pretty good. I was impressed by how well. I thought when I started it, I was like, this isn't going to hold up. And I by the end, I was like, this is still quite nice.
And honestly, for a book that's 100 years old, like it's
pretty
past the hump, right?
Yeah.
To where, it is no longer, cultural references don't matter anymore. And it is just like, in essence, a timeless, timeless human condition sort of book.
I feel like we didn't have to do a lot of like trigger warnings or anything too.
I mean, the biggest one is that this was written by a white man.
Well, about Buddhism, in a country
but
I don't think visited.
Not about Buddhism, right? Buddhism is
but it could come off as that.
Sure,
if you didn't have the warning of like BTW, not this man's culture, so just go into that.
Well, and I think you and I both talked about moments where it was very obviously influenced by like
his own
Western Christianity and Catholicism. That being said, I did like it. I thought rereading it, I wasn't going to like it. It was fine.
Well, in a departure next month, it's the month of love, and we're reading Sweet Valley Twins, #1, Best Friends. So, pretty much the same thing.
Go find out Siddhartha, part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Absolutely. So, I'm actually excited for that one just because I need a palate cleanser as far as like, I don't want to have any deep thoughts.
Well, and then our next one after that is the Transl Saga, right?
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to it.
It's a deep sandwich.
Oh my gosh.
Can't wait.
I'm so nervous.
I know it's long. It's not that bad. It goes.
The books I just want to tell people, the books I picked this year are all very easy, short for the most part with big words. And Sam's like, let's go deep or go home.
So I want to point out that also I'm usually the one that's like the source of our tardiness. So I'm like, and let's also read this 300-page book. It's so good, though. It's worth it.
I'm excited.
I've never read a Sweet Valley High book.
It's not even Sweet Valley High. It's Sweet Valley Twins. It is based in middle school. It is it's the book below. But the reason I picked this is because I found it in the books my mom brought me, and it had my name on it. Like, I read it when I was a kid.
That's amazing.
I was just like, okay, we have to read this one. Plus, it's pink.
For Valentine's. Love it. Well, we'll have a pink cocktail next month.
I'm excited. Well, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for not only just sitting in and chatting with us, but also for just supporting us and driving Sam home and dealing with a couple giddy, giggling ladies that have drank too much and have not packed up any alcohol to take back to Sam's house.
And are in desperate need of a hot and ready pizza.
Oh my gosh.
Also, I will say, last bit is just as a little teaser. Next month, we'll have a little fun cocktail surprise a la Kevin's brother, Scott, our #1 fan, and Kate, his wife, who is very artsy.
Very exciting. So
get excited.
Here's that. Keep on drinking. Or not.
Do what's good. Take care of yourselves.
Be in your pleasure phase. If you're enjoying Boozy Book Reports and would like to support the show, you can share episodes with your friends and family, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Boozy Book Report, or leave us a positive review and rating, all which help us to grow. Our theme music was created by the Finley Ghost. Check out their latest album now. Thank you and happy reading.